Country living makes you happier? Happier? Or city living makes you happier? Which one makes you happier? But I'm happy to be the contest or debate master tonight. I'd like to welcome you. We've got two teams. On my left over here, we have what we call the Country Rebels! And on the right, we got the City Slickers! Now, I'd like to introduce our members on this Country Rebels. So one by one, you can stand up. Our first speaker over here is Eric Hsu! Our second speaker is the supreme leader of all Toastmasters in the world, Eric Hsu! Our next speaker is the beautiful one and only recently engaged Lyla! And our last but not least is the one who's not as stubborn, the guy with one Achilles heel, Lester Lin! Yay! Alright, give them a big round of applause. Good. And they are the Country Rebels. They will be representing the country. And on our right over here we have the City Slickers! Our first speaker is our super engineer, Chao! Our next speaker is Konnichiwa Watashiwa Toastmasters! Our next speaker is none other than the guy who likes to show his toes, Gilmartin! And our last speaker is the one, the only recent member who's always encouraging our positive psychology, Anting Liu!
Good evening, my name is Chao, and I'm City Speakers. City living is better is our position tonight. Why? Because in the city, there are many job opportunities, more educational and healthcare resources, more recreation and social activities, and better transportation system, and so on. For example, all of us here working in the city, we may finish our job at 6 p.m. tonight, and you still have time to grab something to eat from the convenience store. Then you rush to the MRT station, you hop on the train, you come here to this venue. All can be done roughly in about an hour. And after you enjoy this debate tonight, you can walk to Lester's house for the second round. However, it would be unimaginable if Lester was living in the country 20 kilometers from here. Would you go?
Yes.
No. I guess probably there was none, but himself would go. Fortunately, Lester, he lives around the corner, and he's kind enough to open his house for the second round. So after we finish the second round, we can walk to the MRT station in a few minutes, and we can get back home in 20 or 30 minutes at most. Those are the benefits of city living. Well, I try to start up my own business, and it's also better to work in the city. Not because it is
You sure?
not because it is closer to where you live, but also provide the resources for every one of us to pursue our wide range of careers, to fulfill our dreams and support our families. For example, I'm the business owner and I'm the general manager. Only in the city can I find the best technology, talented employees, readily accessible financial resource, and good transportation to facilitate my business and make it succeed. In fact, no matter what your career is, the city is probably the best place for you. Whether you are an artist, engineer, doctor, teacher, business person, or whatever profession is, you can always find the resources and opportunities in the city. Be careful. Some people, they claim country living is better. Actually, naming city suburb living is better. Still the city, not country. Don't be fooled by those misleading statements. No. I've lived in the city for all my life, but occasionally I like to visit the country for a short vacation. I feel relaxed. I can smell the fresh air. I can see the brighter sky and appreciate the beauty of nature. However, after vacation, I still come back to the city, and I live here and work here. Country may be a good place for vacation, but I can be fine only when I am in the city. I can feel the vibes from the surroundings, and which make me energetic by interacting with more people. Audience and judges, we are all in a very competitive society today. City living provides us the resources we need to keep us ahead of the competitions. Although it may not be perfect, but when considering balance in life, work, and family is the best choice you can make. So don't be fooled by the other team. Vote city.
You mentioned about you are happier in country. I hear. How do you explain that?
Well, like I said, most of the time I live in the city and work in the city, but occasionally I like to have a vacation in the country. It really makes me feel good after I have the vacation and come into the city.
City should feel good.
Second, you said in city you still have fresh air. What is the source you study from?
Well, I didn't say, I say the countryside has fresh air. But however, in the city, because we stay in a room most of the time, in the office or at home, you can turn on the air purifier to make the air fresher and cleaner. That's how I say it.
You mentioned about you can have a bigger house in the city, but how easy to start it without very little money for working?
Well, in the city, there are plenty of high-paid jobs. Well, if you feel you make too little, you have to better find a better job. Otherwise, you cannot afford a bigger house in the city. So you have to make more.
Well, that's easy.
Okay, you say it's convenient in the city, but nowadays we have a lot of 7-Eleven. Everywhere is a 7-Eleven. Also have e-commerce. 1 year, 1 hour, 2 hours can be reached. So how's the convenience compared to other places?
Well, that's what I said. You have to be careful when you when you say the country. Do you mean the country or the city suburb? There are many 7-Elevens in city, including downtown and suburb, but there are very few or even non-city 7-Eleven in the country. So, and also the e-commerce, they don't serve those remote countryside. That's true.
You mentioned about having more city job opportunity. Do you have a data and source to support that?
Well, it's an interesting question. Well, on the opposite, can you say it's common sense? There are not many jobs opportunities in the countryside. City does have more opportunities to work, to get high-paid job, and to a different kind of jobs. It's common sense.
Okay, that's what. How can you define the city and the countryside?
Well, actually, the way I define city is on the opposite. How can I define the country? Well, countryside means no public transportation, no maybe running water, no stores. That's also how I feel the countryside. Then the opposite is the city or city suburb.
So do you mean if there's no any traffic store, and that's a country? Fellow Toastmaster, and welcome our guest. Guess what? Country living is the best.
Yes!
Yes! Yes! That is what we believe. My first point is that the health is good for country living. Country living is the best for your health. For health, the most important is air. A person's lung will take 7.5 million breaths a year. If the air is polluted, the small toxic particle will go into your lung and your blood system to damage your health. And we also have a case study by WHO in 2018. And these, the top 500 cities with the worst air pollution. In China, we have a 288 cities out of 500. In Taiwan, we also have 4 cities which include New Taipei City, Kaohsiung, Tainan, and Taichung. And air pollution is a killer. A 2007 the World Bank report found that the outdoors air pollution is causing 400,000 people premature die a year. And this is like entire Taoyuan city year after year. And the air pollution is also made cancer the first leading killer in China. I live in Beijing in 2016, and when dust storm from the Mongolia desert brought into the city, actually you couldn't see anything. And recent studies have discovered the toxic industry pollution mixed with the desert. Imagine all those very small toxic particles go into your lung with every breath you take, every minute. And toxic pollution from dust storm from China also settled here in Taiwan. Beijing traffic is also a nightmare. Statistics show Beijing people daily spend 48 minutes a day in traffic. And in Taipei, we generate is 33 minutes a day, which make our life very shallow. And it affects our life negatively. So it was a waste of your valuable time on terrorist Beijing. In contrast, I was an exchange student in the countryside of Holland. I experienced a very clean, healthy air, very little traffic, and friendly bicycle streets. I love the relaxing lifestyle there without any stress in the city, which is good for my physical and mental health. In conclusion, the city of air pollution is bad for your impacts for health, highlighted by the World Bank report of 500,000 people die premature a year only in China. And at the threats of air pollution and traffic including the city, and is attacking your health mental. So you must agree that country living is better for your health. So say it with me. Country living is the best for your health.
Well, you mentioned the top 500 cities in the world that have the most polluted air. However, do you know the country called Mongolia? It's not a developed country, and there is the dust pollution in the air. How do you say it's a good place to live? It's countryside. The whole country the whole nation is a countryside.
Okay, based on your place, you say no traffic, no store. So Mongolia actually they have many traffic, still the rail store, which divides the city. We divide still the city, but very small city.
My next question is, you mentioned every one of us in the city, we spend a lot of time on commute every day. However, don't you think it's convenient for us to take the MRT in the city? You can go anywhere probably within 30 minutes.
Okay, nowadays, you know, it's a world nowadays. We don't have to go out everywhere we want. By the e-commerce, by the WhatsApp, you can count your food. By your message, you still can contact your friend. By the Zoom, you still can talk to people here. In COVID period, even we don't have the dump, we still can connect with our audience.
Well, what is the countryside in Taiwan you wish to live in? Is it real or just your imaginary idea of countryside? Will your spouse or kids support you if you decide to move to the countryside?
Yes.
Something.
Yes. I will let my children to live in the countryside because I can have more time with my children and my children still have an education to connect the world by internet. And for the city in Taiwan, just I mentioned, I think if no traffic, no store, only very few is a countryside, like a Pingdong or other few cities.
Can you name a place or countryside in Taiwan you wish to live in?
I wish to live in the Kending, yeah, because they have a sunset. Okay, you have a very beautiful ocean there without any noise from outside. If you want your life, you can stay there. If you want to connect to the world, you use your mobile phone and your computer to net. So you can control your life.
Friends, look to your left. Look to the right. These are all people who were brought together to build wonderful, beautiful, amazing friendships by this city. It is the city's ability to transport us conveniently. It is the fact that the city allows us to live and work in close proximity, that we are able to get off of work and come together and build something special together. And frankly, as somebody who grew up on a farm and spent 18 years of his life living a 20-minute drive, going as fast as crazy down country roads to get to at least one friend, I can tell you this is something special. I spent 18 years talking to Riley the horse. I'd say, "Do you want something?" He'd say, "Nay," all the time. Crazy. But friends, over here, the country rebels will tell you, "Hey, folks, our country living, we have close connection. We've got everybody knows everybody over here." But friends, I have to tell you, rural isolation, rural loneliness is a very real thing. In the United States, the National Rural Health Alliance talks about how isolation, the lack of friendships, can lead to an early onset of Alzheimer's disease. It can lead to high blood pressure. It can lead to depression. It can lead you to dark places. And if you think, well, the United States is a big place, so of course rural isolation is easy. In 2020, a survey was done in Taiwan about the loneliest place in Taiwan. What was number one? Was it Taipei? No, it was Yunlin. What kind of place is Yunlin? It is one of the agricultural centers of Taiwan. Listen, Kending is not the countryside. It is a tourist heaven that's practically Hawaii. This is an issue. And when you live in such loneliness, it becomes difficult to get health care. Grandma lives by herself. Who's there to help her? Who's there to spend time with families? It's a lonely place. It's lonely here in Taiwan. It's lonely in the United States. And as much as they'll say there's great social connection, one of the most difficult things about the countryside is finding a friend. In the countryside, when it's everybody knows everybody, when you're not from the countryside, you are perpetually the outsider. And it's not even about being from a foreign country. Going to West Virginia. I live 5 hours from West Virginia. I walk into a McDonald's, I talk differently. I said, "I'd like to have a coffee." And they said, "Where are you from, kid?" "I'm from Virginia." "Oh, Virginia." And all of a sudden, ice cold. I'm an outsider. Forever. This is the difficult thing about rural life. City living, it's different, friends. You can build real friendships regardless of who you are, where you're from. And friendships are so key to our happiness, to our health. It is everything to who we are, to live a good, happy life. In a place like Taipei, Tokyo, London, New York, any city around the world, doesn't matter where you're from, there is a community that is there for you. You're from South Africa? Lots of South Africans. You're from New York? There are New Yorkers everywhere. The country doesn't offer this to you. The country offers you loneliness. And maybe a horse. that when you try to talk to it, it goes. And so, friends, I think we can all agree that city living is a key to happiness. It is a key to happiness that should not be overlooked.
Thank you for hitting the bell on that nonsense.
All right, so are you ready for the cross-examination, Supreme Leader Eric Ma?
Yeah!
All right, let's get it on!
So the city brought us together to TGIF, huh? You don't think this could happen in the country? If we had a club, and you talk about loneliness, you have a club that is a sense of love and social well-being. Don't you think that would bring people together as well? Not the city. We're not here because of the city.
Country living has its points, and this club idea is something that should be able to work everywhere. But the fact is that the range of people you can meet, the number of people you can bring together, it gets hindered when there is not easy transportation, when there aren't easy ways to get to these places, when there are greater distances. Your numbers are limited. It's much more difficult to fill a room like we have filled with wonderful people from all over the country.
Sorry, you have to get with the times, Joe. We're in the times of the internet. We can have this club, both in person and online. We could fill both rooms.
One of the things that's very difficult is that in the rural areas, technology is not always as easily available. Frankly, if you look at the United States, sure, it's starting to get broadband down in Alabama. But the difficult thing is that technology is not easily accessible. It is not as it doesn't function as strongly as it does in the city. And frankly, are you really wanting to enjoy a hybrid meeting when the city allows you to see all these people in person? Do you have a problem seeing these people in person?
I just don't want cancer in my lungs. Now, you talk about people being lonely in the country, but actually a lot of statistics show that people in the city, even though you're living among so many people, are some of the loneliest in the world. How do you explain that?
One of the amazing things about lonely people in the city is that there are also lonely people in the country. The fact is, and you can take it to the bank, if you are miserable in the city, if you think moving to the country will make you feel amazing, make you feel really happy, chances are you are bringing that miserableness and that loneliness down into the country.
No way, no way.
So this tells you it's not the city or the country that causes this. So that is nonsense. All right, so you're talking about suicides. Why, if people are so lonely and depressed in the country, why are there so many suicides that occur around the world in cities?
Higher population, there are more people in the cities. Percentage-wise, rural
But they're happy.
suicides are very common. People often feel lost and without jobs and having no hope in rural areas. Rural suicide is also a very real thing, and the saddest thing about it is that people don't discover that somebody has killed themselves because there's nobody around to know. Good job.
I didn't kill anybody. All right, you talk about... Living in the country can be a smart choice for many reasons, especially when it comes to money. Please allow me to share with you the economic benefits of living in the country. Firstly, one of the biggest advantages is the cost of housing. In the country, homes are usually much cheaper than in the city. This means you can save a lot of money on buying or renting a house. For example, according to the US Census Bureau, in January of 2022, in cities such as San Francisco, the median home price was around $1.4 million. Meanwhile, in the country, the median home price was only 1/5 of that, around $250,000. So, for the price of one city house, you can own almost 5 country homes. With this extra money, you can invest in other things, such as education, starting your own business, or planning for your retirement. Living in the country can also save you money on everyday expenses, such as food and bills. You can often find local produce, which have much lower prices than in the city. The cost of utilities like water, gas, electricity, and heating is much lower as well. Government data shows that living in the country can save you up to 40% on your daily expenses. The country can be a great place to start your own business. You can start agriculture-related businesses, ecotourism, such as offering eco-tours, country B&Bs. Plus, starting and running a business in the countryside can be easier because there's fewer government regulations and rules to deal with. In addition to starting a business, the country could be a great place for remote work. Thanks to technologies, many jobs can be done from anywhere so that you can live in the country while still having a city job. I've been working remotely for over 5 years now, and if it wasn't for my wife's city job, I would absolutely be living in the country. Living in the country often gives you a more sustainable lifestyle. People in the country grow their own food, buy from local farmers, which you can save money and also reduce your impact on the environment. There are also plenty of outdoor activities to enjoy in the country, which can help you stay healthy, save money on gym memberships, entertainment, and also just general memberships. Living in the country is not just about peace and nature. It's also a smart financial choice. Cheaper housing, cost of living, new business opportunities, and the option to work remotely can make your life more affordable and more fulfilling and make you happier. So if you're looking for a place to live, consider the economic benefits of living in the country. It could be the key to a happier and a more financially safe, happy life. Thank you.
You sound like somebody who is from the city trying to buy up property from people who are working and living in the country. And I think that your representation of the economics of this situation is it's a high misrepresentation. And so frankly, I want to ask you, first of all, why do you think property in rural places is cheaper?
Why? Because the data shows it. Very simple. The US Census Bureau, the median home prices in the country is almost 1/5 the price of a city home. They have data on that. Just go look at it.
Congratulations, you gave me a number. I was asking for a reason.
The reason?
I'm asking you why you think that those properties...
Because of demand. You know how economics works. Supply and demand. There's more people in the city fighting over the slums and the little apartments that they have and to live on top of each other. But in the country, there's less people. So then there's less demand, but more supply. That's how it works.
Perfect. So you talk about demand. So then why is demand for these beautiful, wonderful, amazing country houses so low?
There is not low. It's just that when you have people living in such a small square footage of land, naturally that's going to happen. And people build cities, and there are jobs and opportunities there, but as the economy changes more towards remote work, people are slowly moving out of cities. Especially, you can see that during times of COVID. People left New York City and the countryside, and the prices went up in the country.
Right, so this is another interesting thing. So you're talking about basically a housing bubble with the rural area.
You're talking about.
Because as you're telling all these people to go out and to purchase land, you are basically now making the country unlivable by driving up housing prices. Because if all these people go and they buy land in your area, all of a sudden the housing prices are going to go up, and now we're not going to be able to afford it, just like we're not able to afford housing in city areas, right?
No, it will equal out. The city houses prices will come down because there's less demand, and that has happened. New York City prices, apartments, have come down to the lowest during the COVID times than it has ever. So there's no bubble there. It's just overpriced in cities. Nobody wants to buy a house in the city because nobody can afford it.
Now, I'm going to move on to another question.
Yeah, you should move on.
Cities are the cultural centers of our civilization. They are basically the arts, the museums, all these wonderful things. So I want to ask you, Eric Ma, would you really deprive your child of the arts, entertainment, and their friends just so you can hang out with a goat in Mississippi? Why are you doing that?
That is derogatory. I don't condone that kind of behavior. I can easily take my child from the city to enjoy city entertainment, but to be the truth of it, I don't want to, even if I could, because they can experience culture and those kind of entertainment online.
So, to go into this sort of online issue and technology,
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, Lyla and the Country Rebels are telling you a beautiful story of the country, with nature and fresh air and buying 5 houses. But they are trying to mislead you. They are trying to trick you. They are talking about either taking a vacation in the country or taking your hard-earned money earned in the city and moving to the country for retirement. Because the city is where it is best to build a life. And that's exactly what history shows us. If we look back 120 years in the year 1900, 8.5 out of every 10 people lived in the country, enjoying country life. But if we look at today, only 4.5 out of every 10 people on Earth live in the country. Most people have moved to the city. Think about that. 40% of the Earth's population has looked at their life in the country and said, "This sucks." I get to choose between digging in the dirt, growing potatoes, and digging in the dirt and growing corn. I'm lonely, I'm stuck at home. I want to build a life. A life where I can pursue an interesting career. A life where I can raise a family and meet people. A life where I can experience art and theater and music and culture and all the things that help us people rise above our daily lives and see something bigger and deeper about life on Earth. Folks, only in the city can you get that. Not in the country. But on top of this, country living also can kill you. Because if you go back to 1900, the average life expectancy in a time where almost everybody lived in the country is 31 years. What a short life. Except for the United States and Japan, where a bigger group of people moved to the city. They lived about 50% longer. And today, when most of the people on the world live in the city, we live over 73 years old. Thank goodness we are nearby the doctors and the hospitals and the health care to take care of us. We are not stuck at home, isolated, worrying about our child who might get sick in the middle of the night, and we have to drive 30 minutes, 40 minutes trying to get them care. Ladies and gentlemen, I know it's a very romantic idea to live in this country. We all have had a great memory visiting there sometime. But think about your daily life. Think about your dreams. All of these are something that are much easier to pursue in the city. Even a person to my left has pursued a very successful sales career in technology and built a wonderful life. In the country? No, in the city. So please, when it's time to vote, vote city. That's where you can build a happy life.
Talk talking about the retirement plan, as we know that your retirement plan and dream is living in a camper in the country. So how would you
Exposed.
That's not persuading.
Well, let's think about that for a minute. After a happy, enriching life in the city, working hard, I'd like to take a little break. Maybe a year or two, just to experience something different. Is it where I'm building my life? No. Is it where I raise my kid? No. Is it where I pursue my career? No. In fact, it's all the city that gave you that.
Also, you mentioned that about the hospital. Do you know that actually cities have an issue about the overcrowded healthcare facilities? Do you aware of that? You have a lot of hospitals, but there's an issue. Do you have the way to get inside the order, get in to talk to the doctors?
So, regarding health, we hear a lot of scaring about life in the city with the health. But what are the two countries with the longest life expectancy in the world today, according to Statista.com? Hong Kong and Macau. Third place, Japan. City living countries. Why do they live so long? Because you can be healthier in the city. Don't let Lyla scare you. Don't get her move you to the city, to the country. You are safe and healthy here.
But while we are talking to a generalization, a commonplace. So based on WHO, there are 90% city that has the occupancy rate in the health facilities. How are you going to explain that?
Meaning there's only 10% empty, or? I don't, you can ask again, I just didn't understand, I'm sorry, it's my fault.
City education.
Also talking about the communication and the transportation thing, you always mention that countryside, you have no transportation, you don't have the healthcare, you cannot connect with your friends, but it's actually now 2023, it's not 90.
Good
We're
point.
in the early 20th century.
Yes, and so if I'm out in the country, I can get in my gas-guzzling car and drive a long way. But then I notice global warming. The eco-friendly nature. I'm totally damaging the environment when I'm living in the country. I'd much rather just get on an MRT, get on a bus, not contribute carbon dioxide, and just be kinder to the earth.
When marriage. So countryside actually provides a lot of compelling advantage, both socially and environmentally. First of all, the lower crime rate. The sense of community in the countryside actually leads us to a safer place. When we investigated the reports, we can find that according to U.S. Department of Justice, city has almost 300% more crime rate than the countryside.
Oh my God!
Study shows the density of population directly amplifies the crime rate, and it is by exponential growth. Can you imagine? One day, your daughter, your close friend, they just walk on the street in Tokyo, in New York, and by a stranger assaulted you, or rape you, or do the sexual assaulting. Do you really want to risk your life and your family's life inside that environment? So move to the countryside.
What?
Other towns and countryside residents are more interconnected, and they are usually willing to invest in the well-being of your neighborhood. This collective responsibility acts as a deterrent to criminal activities. So take Nauru, for example. It is a tiny island located in the Pacific Ocean. It is a country that has the lowest crime rate in the world. We quote directly from the Global Crime Index. The country has a low crime rate. thanks to its close-knit community. Secondly, the sense of community and the enhanced quality relationship. So here we come to the social front. The tight-knit countryside communities foster the meaningful bonds, which is lacking in the crowded cities. Neighbors in my Italian village always look after each other like you are just like the family. However, living in city side are more likely to get social isolation. Country enables stronger family ties with more quality time together. Without the long commute, you can share the dinner with your family, and you can share the school project with your children. Take my family, for instance. Before I moved to Taipei, we actually had dinner almost every day. And in weekends, we spend time in camping, in hiking. So under the starry night, we can feel the tranquility and the peace. So that's the best gift from nature. However, working in city, such as myself now, we barely see the sunset in just like weekdays, hustle and bustle. It's truly hard to maintain a quality life, especially when we are so exhausted from the 12 working hours, then squeezed inside to a tiny rented apartment. Thirdly, cleaner environment and larger place. Imagine turning to the environment countryside provides abundant greenery and wide open spaces. You can grow your own fruits and vegetables. You can have your cats running around. You can also do e-shopping at home. Of course, just outside where I grew up, there were hiking trails with lush forests and the farms. Easy access to nature is a blessing. That is also why...
Hold on, I've learned some very surprising information. Ramos, is it true that Lyla enjoys going out to restaurants?
What is this?
And is it true that Lyla rides the MRT and the buses?
No?
You're under oath, you can't lie. And she's smiling, she seems like a very happy person. Isn't it true, Lyla, that you're a happy, city-loving person and you don't believe any of this country stuff?
Talking about this, I actually have been working at home for 2.5 years. Wow. And I always take a walk to the riverside. I don't use much the transportation, I walk.
Okay, you talk a lot about all this crime. Isn't it true that in the country, you're so separate? Most of the crime is from the neighbor or you're in your own house, and it actually goes underreported. This is a widely known phenomenon. Isn't that kind of skewing your data a little bit?
That's a good question, but based on the reports, especially in Europe and US, the report rate has been raising year by year, and it has already covered, we can't say the uncovered things, but it has almost covered everything. And about the familiar person, it is actually from the practice way easier to detect and try to find out who made it that crime, but in the city, yeah.
You talk about this tight-knit community in the country, but isn't that another way to say that there's no privacy, everybody's in each other's business, you gossip about each other, and you look around and everybody looks like you, and everybody is kind of doing the same thing as you? Isn't that tight-knit community a little bit too...
Do you really think that in the city, the office ladies, they won't be talking about you? You can choose to share your own thing or not. If you just don't want to communicate or socialize with others, then just stay at home watching Netflix. It's okay.
So I mentioned that 4 out of 10 people on Earth have moved from the country to the city. If life in the country is so much better, why throughout all the world are people moving to the city for a better life?
That depends on why you want to spend your retired time in countryside. It's actually, the world has been changing, especially after pandemic. We have almost everything online. We can also have the online education.
I'd like to ask the country rebels. You mentioned that everything's online right now, we can access them. But as a movie lover, I'd like to ask you, how am I going to watch a newly released movie online without pirating? Even with streaming services, we're not able to watch them.
Good point.
That is very easy. You just have a little patience, and you have to wait to see. May not be for you in your position as a movie reviewer, but you know, why do you pay the premium price when to go to the movie theater and all this, when actually you wait a little bit longer and you might even see it for free?
And one of the things, could I just add to that? One of the great things about living in the country is that you don't have to be immersed in the pollution and live here and have lung cancer. You can just drive or take a bus and take transportation to the theater to watch the movie. Because you don't have to do it every day.
Time. Would you like to respond?
They gave misinformation.
Okay, all right, okay. 1 minute, 1 minute. One more response.
Jenny, I would also say you not only can see movies just released in the city, you can go to concerts, you can go to theater, you can go to museums, you can meet people and discuss what you saw in the movie. There are so many entertainment options available in the city. Even just a short ride from here, you can go down to Warner Village or any neighborhood and see movies. Taipei even has movie theaters with like a lounge chair and they bring food to you. Everything is possible in the city. Thank you.
We still have like 20 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And frankly, their solution of riding a bus is only going to work if that country area happens to have a bus that you can ride. And so really
So for both sides, what is your definition of happiness? And what truly makes people happy?
We'll let the city go first.
For my definition of happiness is to pursue my dream, to build a career, to fulfill my ideas, to fulfill my dreams. In that way, I become a very happy person. So for me, it's pursue my career. Thank you.
Any more? Any more?
I would say happiness is not so simple as just, oh, I'm taking a walk. Happiness is seeing your kids grow up. Happiness is achieving your career goals. Happiness is learning about other cultures. It's very complex and it's deep and it's only available right here in the city.
Salesman, slicker.
I got you.
You still have time?
we still have time. And to go off of this point, happiness, there are many definitions. And I do think that one of the things that does lead to happiness is good health, good social relationships, and being able to enjoy strong, diverse social relationships, friendships.
Happiness is a state of well-being and contentment. Like when you think about what is innately as a human being you need, like smile, like a clean air, like the precious time with your family and friends.
You know, people say money can't buy love, money can't buy happiness. That is not true. If you have money, and you can have a lot of money because you save a lot of money in the country, you could be happy because you can provide for family and loved ones, and provide to the community and giving. Because by empowering those people around you with the resources that you have is what's going to make you happy.
And also you can tell, when you have money, what do the rich do when they've got a lot of money? They buy a place in the country!
Yay.
Because they're happier there.
Yes.
It's something when you can relax, you can be in nature. When I'm in a forest, you just feel the growth and power of the...
Hi, yeah, I have a question for both teams. First of all, the country rebels. So everyone heard of the 5 blue zones, right? Belongs to living people and in those 5 blue areas in the world. So if country is so great at living, why do people do, the majority of the people on the earth do exactly the opposite of what the blue zone people do? And the question for the city slickers, how do you explain the fact that the blue zone areas are mostly country? They are essentially islands, isolated communities.
The blue zones is very obvious because they're eating better, they're not under the air pollution, and air is so important for your health. That's my business, right? And when you have particulate that's toxic, that is PM2.5, that can pass your barriers, it goes into your bloodstream, and it causes people to degrade their IQ, it gives you cardiovascular disease, it gives you lung cancer, and I tell you, when you can't breathe, you're not happy. Try holding your breath for 2 minutes and see how you're going to feel. You will not be happy. So having good health is a very important key for happiness. When you don't have your health and you can't move around, or you can't get out of bed, or you can't think clearly, that is not happiness. So protecting your health, being in a place that's healthy, that has good air, good water, and good nutrition, you should choose the city.
What? The country.
Outside the country!
So, for those of you who aren't aware where blue zones are located, this is, I think, a crucial part of the question, because a blue zone could be a place like Okinawa, Japan, it could be Sardinia, Italy, it could be in Costa Rica. Keeping in mind that agricultural areas are not necessarily that much cleaner than city areas. There's a lot of pollution that happens in agricultural areas. These particular blue zones, a lot of them are island areas, which is slightly different from country areas. So keeping in mind that just because it's a blue zone, just because it's lower urban kind of qualities, does not necessarily mean that this is a slam dunk on their half.
So I do agree with the fact that the blue zones provide a good longevity for the people that live there from the rural areas. But the theme of tonight is on happiness. And there's no specific evidence to show that blue zones actually support that. So, there you go.
And if you're talking about health, I could go to yoga class down there. I could go to the gym.
In common sense that city need more power and country need a little bit money. And so city will put the nuclear waste to the country and spend little money for them. Is this a fair trade for each other?
Well, because in the city, the population is dense, and in the countryside, the population is more loose. So in that way, government has to choose a place to build those infrastructure. Actually, those infrastructure benefit city person more than benefit the country person. So I feel sorry to say that.
I think one of the trends you're also talking about isn't necessarily just a pure city to country. We're also talking about a nation to nation issue. We're talking about countries that have power pushing their trash onto countries that don't. And so once we start to talk about nuclear waste and where it's being pushed, we're moving outside the bounds of just pure city and country divide. We're now moving into international politics.
Yeah. And it's also, the city is going to use more energy because there's so much more people. Most of the people are concentrated in the city. Actually, if you look at per person, it's more efficient in the city. We don't have to heat a big house. We don't have to drive a car really far. As far as creating energy waste, it is much better in the city.
Look, guys, humans were not meant to be living on top of each other in cities, in density. Humans need space. We need fresh air. We need nature. And because of the density caused by everyone compacting, they need a lot of resources and power. Therefore, they need these things such as nuclear power. So without a city in this density, we wouldn't have this kind of an issue. So this is caused by humans living in cities.
I also think it is unfair to the people in the country because they have chosen a healthier lifestyle and they're not consuming as much, but they are forced to live with the consequences of being close to a nuclear reactor. So it's happiness. Like when you're in the country there, you have your happiness, but when the people, the city slickers, the smooth talkers, when they encroach because of their energy needs, encroaches on your happiness, that is not fair.
So I have a question for country rebels. So we talk about smart financial choice that can live in country, and because you have a city job and you can work with agriculture, but what else? So can you actually have other jobs that's rather than city job, and then you work remotely and other than agriculture? What else in the countryside you can do?
I lived in the countryside for a very long time. And basically, there are all sorts of things that you can do. There's operating heavy machinery, there's logging, there is road building, there's farming, which is agriculture. But the country is not just having a rake and hoeing a garden. There's sophisticated farm equipment that can do the work of hundreds of people. And to operate those, to understand it, to have the technical know-how, how to fix it, there's huge demand for that. So you don't have to be in the city, per se, to just have the good jobs. You can be in the country and make very good money. There are oil field workers, there's logging people. The amount of money that they make in a month, you would just absolutely be stunned.
And also, with today's logistics, you can have a remote business, and also there's less competition in the country. So actually, it's smarter to start a business in the country.
Would you like to respond?
Okay, let's see. Show of hands. Who wants to dig in the dirt and be a farmer? No, thank you. Okay, we got one.
It's
But
a
I would
professor
say-
too, so I mean.
Over the past number of decades, as people have moved into the city, we've also seen an incredible trend of people being lifted out of poverty. Why is that? Because a very diverse, knowledge-based economy based in the cities, where you can be a teacher, where you can provide services to all the people around you. This is how we grow economies. That's how we lift people out of poverty. If you look at the poorest countries in the world, they are the most rural. They are the ones with the most percentage of people living in the country. Living in the country is not going to your beautiful country home with $1 million that you earn in the city. Real country living throughout the rest of the world is poverty. It is struggling. It is economies that aren't developed.
Thank you very much.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters. To begin with a quote by the renowned urbanist Jim Jacobs. Cities have the capability to provide something for everybody, only because and only when it is created by everybody. Today, I stand before you to argue in favor of city living as the path to a greater happiness and quality of life. In the hustle and bustle of the city, one finds bountiful economic opportunities. The abundance of job opportunities and career advancement that the city offers cannot be overstated. Whether you're an entrepreneur or corporate professional, cities present a canvas for success. It's no surprise that economic prosperity leads to greater personal growth and ultimately happiness. Cities are also melting pots of cultures and traditions. In this diversity, we discover a profound sense of acceptance and understanding. Can you imagine going to a Toastmaster meeting without the diversity of opinions? Our social connections expand and deepen as we learn from each other in different perspectives. The dynamic social fabric of cities not only enriches our lives, but also broaden our horizons. These connections formed in cities contribute to a more fulfilling life, and also that benefits the larger group, our community. Convenience is also a hallmark of city living, whether it's healthcare, education, and entertainment. We have easy accessibility to this vast array of essential services. We do not need to worry about the distance or time as everything is within reach. And it is this easy accessibility that directly contribute to the higher quality of life and subsequently greater happiness. Some may argue that the countryside offer a more peaceful and serene environment that foster happiness, but it's also essential to recognize that the tranquility of the countryside can coexist with city life. Many cities offer green spaces, parks, and urban planning that allows for a balanced and harmonious lifestyle. In conclusion, city living is a path to greater happiness. The benefits of city living go far beyond convenience, as it touches the core of our well-being. To have a chance to create a life, to have a chance to include the dreams from all walks of life, which results in a happier and more fulfilling life. Thank you.
Anting, you talk about in a city where you have more acceptance and understanding. How do you explain the last 3 years? Things like the riots from the George Floyd point. 31 cities in the United States, violent rioting, burning, larceny, stealing. And this is people that are frustrated and so angry.
Well, Lester, that's patently false. Because we have a high rate of racist population as well in the countryside. And the riots or the protests that you talked about, that happens both on the countryside as well in the city, but for different topics. And the question that you asked was about better understanding and acceptance. In cities, we have a diverse... Okay.
On the tails of that, also you look at a huge exodus going out of California, one of the most wonderful places to live. It's because of the homelessness, the poverty that you said is not in the cities. It's riding into your front yard of your $1 million home. And also people are stealing from these companies where the police don't even enforce it. And big corporations are moving out.
Well, that is a good question. But as well, we look at the different aspects of the lifestyles in one environment. Crime rate is a thing in the city, but as well in the countryside. And what we offer is so much more than that. We look at the benefits of city living, and that definitely outweigh the crime.
The racism is a product of dense population where you have identifiable people that are of different categories and races. And that is why, as they are in the city with the density and they start don't get along and they start fighting, that is the core, and it happens only in the cities.
Well, I think for that specific argument, it goes a lot deeper than just the environment. As well, it goes into our education, and that's why we need a quality education in the city to educate our kids that now that we have this globalization of this mixed cultures and backgrounds, we need to learn how to have better understanding and acceptance and love towards each other, other than living in our own little countryside home and to not be in the presence of the diversity of the people.
Yeehaw! Country living is the best!
Yes!
How do I know? Because after graduating from high school, I moved to the wilderness of Canada to do country living for 14 years. People from my church had the vision to start a community farm very far away from city slickers and live a simple lifestyle while growing a Christian community built on God's love. Built on God's love. Does that sound familiar? Our farm was called Shiloh. We had no electricity, no TV, no running water, no flush toilets, but we took 5 hours to get from the nearest city to get into our land. That sounds bad, but that's part of the country adventure. I was part of the first 12 people to move to Shiloh. We gradually grew to a community of 185 people, with families and young adults from all over Canada and the United States. We worked hard with amazing teamwork to build 27 homes and many other buildings from trees we cut from our land. We raised farm animals, cows, horses, pigs, chickens, and dogs. We changed forests into beautiful fields to grow grain and vegetables for our food and for our animals. We started many businesses. I personally started 5 businesses, proving the country living economic opportunity Eric Hsu was talking about. We had pristine, healthy, clean air instead of the unhealthy, sick, city slicker air that Eric Hsu was talking about. And we had the warm, loving country relationships that Lyla remembers from her childhood. We built a large community building, which was our church, our school, and where we ate 3 meals a day together. Before starting every meal, we would first sing a song and then open with a prayer. Sing a song, open with prayer? Does that sound familiar? Each table was big enough for 10 people. Our seating arrangements were changed every 2 or 3 weeks so we could mix and bond with each other. Our meals were always filled with lively chatter. We ate homemade bread, fresh vegetables from our gardens, and fresh milk, eggs, and meat from our animals. I could tell so many amazing stories from these 14 years, but the biggest treasure I got from this country living experience is the appreciation of a family community built on God's love, living by the guidelines from the Bible that Jesus spoke. It's been 50 years since we started Shiloh, and our community love continues to endure. We have 177 of us connected on Facebook, our Shiloh group. And when starting TGIF, it was my desire and prayer to bring that same sense of country living community based on love and based on God's love for each other as a foundation for our clubs. Now, when I look at all of you here and see God's love shining through you, seeds planted in my life during my country living experience now growing in the hearts of all of you, when I see that, what can I say? It brings such happiness, it's overwhelming. So, country living, it's gotta be the best. Say it with me, country living is the best! And put that on your ballot.
Lester, you talked about the beautiful memories that you had in the countryside. You were born and spent your childhood way out in the countryside of Canada, and yet you moved to Taipei, started a company here in Taipei, and are happily living in the city. If country living is so great, why don't you leave it?
That's easy. Wait, that's easy. As you said, that this is about happiness. And the intensity of happiness that I experienced out in the wilderness of Canada was incredible. Where you live, we're talking about, are you happier in the country or happier in the city? What brings you happiness? And so our proximity to nature, to be working on something with your own hands and turning wild country into a beautiful farm, that is fulfilling.
And a carnage.
Okay, so let's stay on the topic of happiness. How can you explain the top 10 happiest countries have more urban population than the countryside, according to a report by the CNN? So they're all above the percentage of 90%. Finland, 86, Denmark, 88, and the Netherlands, 93.
Well, number one, from CNN? Oh my gosh. I'm just kidding. But of course, we're talking about some of the Scandinavian countries. And a lot of the reason for their happiness is not even from whether they're in the cities or in the country, but there is a lot of countryside in those countries that you're talking about. I would say the countryside population compared to the city, especially in those areas, are probably skewed towards more people from the countryside, representing that happiness factor.
Last question. So all the advanced healthcare and education are more focused in the city. Doesn't the countryside lose its charm if one day if you're sick and in need of a top-notch service for better quality treatment?
Actually, my mother had a stroke in Anacortes, which is out in the countryside. We were only 1 block away from the hospital. She was there in minutes, and then there was a helicopter that flew her right into the city. So with modern transportation, even in Taiwan, I know there are helicopter services by the government.
Okay, right now, we're all standing in the city. All of us living close together in the city of Taiwan.
Thank you very much. Applause.
I'm not from TGIF, I'm from Born to Shine. And when I was asked to play today's debate, I was shocked. But later on, I feel it's a good chance for me to improve myself, to advance myself. And I take the pressure to prepare my speech. And I really feel I did a good job. And thank you for all your support.
Yeah, no, I was amazed how many different arguments and different approaches, and having done this before, it is very challenging. So big thumbs up to John, Anting, Eric, Lyla, who are kind of the newbies. It is really challenging, and I thought you all did an amazing job.
I wanted to say a big thank you to Paul and Linda, all of the work that you've done to make this
Shana.
possible. And Shana as well, thank you so much. And secondly, I want to give a big thank you to Douglas. You know, during the past month, he was like our coach, having actually been in debates, because this was my first debate.
Oh, you too.
You debate with me every time we have breakfast.
And so I was really touched to have his guiding hand, and I was also very touched to have Anting in our team and to see her as a very brand new member, like take on Lester. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Nice work. Thank you, girl. Wow!
Well, that was really my first debate, going against Lester. But I was really nervous before coming up the stage, but it was fun games after all, so thank you for the opponent.
Thank you. Thank you, Six Lucas. All right, so let's go down into Lester.
I think one of the things that it gives us an opportunity as participants and also from watching is that how on any given subject, how there are so many angles to look at it. And it's a learning thing that as people, we do see things extremely differently. From where you are, your worldview, and I think it would give us insight into learning how to get along better. To realize that from everything, there's no absolute right or wrong.
Thank you, Lester.
It was fun doing something you've never done. So next time when VPE asks you anything, just say yes, and you can get another chance to grow yourself in the challenge.
Oh, no, not you.
You sit down. You guys know I love jokes, right? I love
jokes.
I love jokes. And I love the jokes that were made in their statements. So that was good job there. All the statements and the things you guys said, good jokes.
You guys are a bunch of jokes. What?
Actually, one of the biggest challenges I had throughout this whole process was how to prepare for it. And we had to prepare and do our data beforehand. We didn't know what they were going to speak like. But it felt like they had a different style. And from their cross-examination, they created their statement. So that was, I thought, quite good. And also one of the biggest ones is I shifted. I like city too.
Thank you. Yay. All right, and finally, Eric Hsu.
Actually, it's my first time for debate. I would say it's not easy. It's quite hard. But very thank you for our team support, especially for Lester to optimize my script, and also the team competitor, because it's very good to hear your perspective and better to think about more. And thank you everyone. Thank you.
All right, now I'd like to invite two special people to the front. I'd like to invite Shane and Lin and Linda to the front, and I'd just like you all to, everybody, stand up and applaud them, because they really know something. Please. Sorry, I didn't prepare a certificate, that's how organized I am. But everybody sees me as the face of this. I just told them what to do and they just did everything. I did nothing, all right? So I just come and make a noise. But Linda and Shana, without them, there would be no organization. We would have achieved nothing. I got here at 6:30 tonight to set up the room, and the room was already set up. Linda did it by herself. What? So thank you so much, Linda. That's the kind of service we love. That's the kind of heart to have. Thank you very much. Our BD and our deputy BD. Thank you so much. Yay!